All right, we're gonna head into the part of our unit where we talk about transformations. And there's 4 basic types of transformations that you need to know. And here are your 4 types. A reflection. A reflection, just like you see in a mirror, reflects your image or your figure. So for example, if I have this little arrow here and I were to reflect it, it would basically kind of go boop over like that. Or I could reflect it a different way. I could reflect it this way, boop, like that. Or I could technically even reflect it this way. So reflecting is kind of popping over a line, your line of symmetry. A translation, some people refer to it as a slide. It basically just moves the figure without changing it at all. So it just kind of moves it either this way and then up, like that. So it's in the same orientation as it was before. You're just kind of moving it either to the right or to the left, and then up or down. A rotation is basically how a wheel rotates. You turn it around your point of rotation, like this. And so a rotation is kind of like that. You could rotate, 360 degrees, which would be a complete circle. Okay, come on, rotate. It's not rotating. There we go. We're really only going to be dealing with like 90-degree rotations or 180-degree rotations. And to think of this, you need to know about clockwise and counterclockwise. So clockwise would be the same direction that a clock goes, so this way. Counterclockwise would be the opposite way that a clock goes. So it's important to know if you're making a 90-degree rotation counterclockwise or a 90-degree rotation clockwise. It makes a difference. And then dilations, we're not going to do a lot with dilations, but a dilation is basically going to make an image bigger or make an image smaller, so dealing with similar figures. Reflections, translations, and rotations do not change the size of your figure. The size remains the same, just where it is might change, but a dilation will actually change the size of your figure. So now we need to get into some funky vocab. There's vocab, it's a little funky, but not too hard. We talk about a pre-image and an image. A pre-image is basically the name of the figure before it gets transformed, before it gets either reflected or translated or rotated or blown up. So a pre-image, pre meaning before, is the name of your figure before it gets changed. The image, I think you can probably figure this out, is the name of the figure after it gets changed, after it's rotated or reflected or dilated or whatever. So pre-image is before the change happens. Image is the name of it after it happens. And we have notation that we get to deal with. So in this picture right here, we have our triangle. This is the pre-image. And the triangle gets moved over here. It gets translated. And here is the image. So here is the picture or the figure after it gets moved. So how do we label an image? Well, each point on the figure gets this little, we call it a prime mark. So the pre-image starts off, here's vertex A. It gets moved to here, and we label it A prime to show that it got changed. Here's point B, now we label it B prime, and then point C, we label it C prime. So right here, this is how we would notate it. Triangle ABC, that's your pre-image, and then this arrow says it got translated, it got changed, it either got dilated or reflected or whatever happened, and now the image is triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. So you're gonna see notation like that. Again, arrow just means it was transformed, it was changed. So how do you label an image? You label it with the primes, like that. And how do you label a transformation? You have to include the arrow. So you're gonna include these primes. So point A becomes A prime. And then how do you label the transformation? You use that arrow. let's talk about some specific ones. We're going to do a lot, some of them with coordinate planes. So here is your object. Here's what you started with. And then here is your image. So this is your pre-image, what you started with. And then it gets changed. It gets moved 2 units to the right, and then it gets moved 4 units up. That's a translation when you're just moving the object like this. So every point on here gets moved to the right and then gets moved up. And then here is your resulting image. How are we going to label that? Well, how would we label this? This just means every x value. Well, every x value, like if we were to graph it in a coordinate plane, it gets moved 2 units to the right. Right and left is talking about our x-axis. So every point now is 2 units more than what it was. So every x value, boop, gets moved 2 to the right. So I'm adding 2. And now every y value, because y is talking about our up and down, gets moved 4 units up. So I'm adding 4 to each of my y values. Boop, they're now 4 more than they were before. So if you see a translation that looks like this, xy becomes x plus 2 and y plus 4, that means here is your pre-image. This is what you started with. It gets transformed or it gets changed, and what happens now, each x value is 2 more than what it was, and each y value is 4 more than what it was. So you can find your new point, your new coordinate point given these rules. So that's kind of what some notation looks like.